There we go. Good evening, everybody. Thank you so much for being here, for participating. This is the Behavioral Economics of Global Affairs. Esse aqui é a disciplina Economia Comportamental de Questões Globais. And we are here at UFRPE, UFRPE, Universidade Federal Rural de Pernambuco, para muitos conhecido como Ruralinda. Então, pessoal, a nossa disciplina é uma disciplina especial, ela é lecionada primordialmente em inglês, mas a gente aqui e ali fala um pouquinho em português para dar algumas explicações. This is our second meeting, all right? So please raise your hand if this is your first time here. Just to make sure that I know. I think most of you were here the first time, but oh, I see. Just Aline. And yeah, I think so. So thanks for coming, and you always be welcome to this class. We are going to have a lot of fun during this semester. I'm going to try and speak as slowly and clearly as possible. So the idea here, it's not to challenge you with a very hard to follow class, okay? That's not our goal. Nosso objetivo aqui não é testar ou estressar ninguém, pelo contrário. The way we're going to use English here, it's more of a practice, right? We want to practice our listening abilities so that later on we can make better use of our skills, ok? Então a gente está só praticando o inglês. É claro que para alguns pode ser complicado, mas eu queria lembrar quem está aqui que vocês podem apertar as 3 bolinhas que estão aí na frente de vocês e clicar numa opção que tem escrito assim, ativar legenda. And if you do so, you can also choose which language will be used for that, okay? So you can have subtitles in English as I speak, ok? Se você clicar aí nesses 3 botõezinhos, nesses 3 pontinhos que tem aí na sua tela, clicar para ativar legendas, aí você tem que escolher o idioma, tá, gente? Porque se tiver em português e eu começar a falar inglês, vai sair tudo bagunçado. Igual agora para mim aqui, ó, eu escolhi o idioma inglês e estou falando em português. Aí tá saindo uma bagunça aqui, tá traduzindo tudo errado, tá? But when I speak in English, then the subtitles will show up just fine, okay? So even if you guys have some trouble understanding what I am saying, it's okay. You still can follow this class in 2 ways. You can activate your subtitles. Você pode aí ativar as legendas. E aí você vai ter as legendas em inglês. Não é tão fácil, mas pelo menos ajuda um pouco. And you can also watch this class again. Kind of a couple of days after we have the class, maybe earlier, I always post the video of these classes, okay, guys? So if you missed the class, or if you had some trouble trying to understand the topics of a specific class, you can watch it again later, all right? So the point is this, we not only want to learn about behavioral economics, we want to learn how behavior economics can help us somehow dealing with some huge civilizatory challenges. And also, we want to do that as we practice our English skills, okay? So this is the main idea here. We want to learn behavior economics. We want to see how behavior economics can help us with the huge humanitarian questions, issues, and also we want to practice English. Now, as far as we are at this point, I want to know if does anyone have a question? Alguém gostaria de fazer uma pergunta em inglês, em português, em francês, em alemão? Tá valendo tudo aqui. All right then. So, please don't hesitate to interrupt me if you want, if you need.
Não é
I
uma
will be
pergunta,
glad to. Go ahead,
não é uma
pode falar,
pergunta, mas
Erika.
é informando que as pessoas vão demorar a entrar hoje, porque ainda está rolando o debate do DA de Economia.
Eita, Erika, então a coisa tá quente lá, hein? It happens, and I understand. In any case, those who cannot be here at this point, they will be able to watch it later, okay? Don't worry about that. All right, thanks, Erika, for the information. So I'm going to start talking a little bit about things that we have discussed in our previous meeting, okay? So I presented to you this funny event, which is also a true event, okay? So this most famous economics publication in the world, this magazine called The Economist, well, they had this offer. You could subscribe to it, paying $59 if you only would like to have the digital version. If you wanted to get a printed copy in your home, then you would have to pay a little bit more, 125 bucks. But there was this like middle choice that no one actually picked. So when they presented the options like this, 84% of the people would take both, and only 16% of the people would take the digital version. All right. No one would choose the middle option. Okay. The option in the middle there. All right. But then here comes this guy, Richard Toller, and he asked the guys in the magazine, say, hey, what you guys have in mind? Please explain to me, what do you guys want when you present those three options? They couldn't explain, or they wouldn't. And so they just changed it. They eliminated the middle option, the option in the middle. So what happened then? Well, after you took that out, it turns out the choices of the consumers were completely different. Então, depois que os caras eliminaram uma opção que aparentemente era inócua, que não faria sentido nenhum e que ninguém estava escolhendo, os novos comportamentos do consumidor mudaram completamente. Well, when you look at this, you say, you know what? Conventional economics cannot explain this kind of stuff because it is not reasonable, it is not rational. Através da economia comportamental convencional, a escolha que você fez antes deveria ser a mesma que você fez depois. Afinal de contas, ninguém escolhia a opção do meio. And it turns out that this is one more piece of evidence that we need behavior economics. We need behavior economics because we need more realistic assumptions about how people make choices. Então a gente precisa da economia comportamental porque a gente precisa lidar de uma maneira mais realista com a verdadeira forma como as pessoas fazem escolhas. And you guys know that, or you probably know that in economics, in conventional economics, we always assume that individuals are perfectly rational. A gente sempre assume que as pessoas são inteiramente racionais na economia. E aí acaba que a gente se surpreende muitas vezes. In this matter here, for this occasion, we want to realize that we are not talking about a defective brain. We are not calling people stupid. We are not trying to diminish our appreciation for the human mind. That's not the point. The point is only to understand that human rationality, it is not as rational or logical or purely rational as people think. Okay? So that's the point. We have to understand what exactly is human rationality. And it is not the simple version that most of the times we assume, either in theory or in practice. Okay? So I gave you lots of examples on how people make poor choices. People procrastinate, people go to bed too late and they regret the other day, they drink more than they should, and it turns out that this is only human, right? When someone gets you or catch you making a mistake, it is fair that you say, oh, come on, I'm only human, right? Toda vez que a gente é pego fazendo alguma coisa errada, é normal a gente falar, espera aí, eu sou um ser humano, né? Eu também cometo erros. All right, so, but the point is this. Even though we make those mistakes, we'd better understand why we make such mistakes. And then we can try and help people making better choices for themselves, okay? So this is a very important message of this class. Especially today, we're going to say this. There are many, many other people studying human behavior. You have psychologists, you have marketing people, you have anthropologists, you have psychiatrists, you have lots of professions studying the human behavior. Okay? We are just like starting as economists to understand human behavior, especially concerning economic choices. But what we see here is that even though we don't go as deep as many other people go, we know a certain things. We know certain things. And we know especially that we don't want use this knowledge to manipulate people. Okay? So this is the behavioral economics of global issues. Essa aqui é a economia comportamental de questões globais. Aqui, a gente não vai aprender como manipular as pessoas. É possível que alguém use parte dos conhecimentos que a gente está falando aqui para o mal. É possível? Tem gente que o faz? Tem gente que o faz. But that's not what we are teaching here. So if you came to this class expecting that by learning what I have to say, you're going to make more money, well, you actually could make more money, but just by making better choices yourself, okay? Not by manipulating other people. That's not what we're going to be teaching here, okay? Então, pessoal, essa é uma mensagem muito importante, tá? Na economia comportamental, a gente não ensina as pessoas a manipularem as outras. A gente ensina as pessoas a reconhecerem as suas tendências cognitivas e, eventualmente, fazer melhores escolhas para si mesmas. All right. So this is very important distinction, and we're going to emphasize that in a few more minutes, okay? All right. So the big plan, we first going to look at individual behavior, how each and every person in this planet behave. So we are not talking about Chinese people, American people, Brazilian people. No, we are talking about people. All right? So we are going to describe some things here that are universal. It is true, some of the traces or some of the tendencies may be impacted by cultural aspects. So we may have some behaviors that tend to be avoided more intensively in certain cultures. Some others may be more emphasized in other cultures. Yeah, but we're going to talk about things that happen in the human brain. Okay? All of us, regardless of where we were born. Then we're going to try to move a little bit larger, our perspective, and we're going to talk about organizations. Segundo nível, A gente vai aumentar um pouquinho a perspectiva. Vai tentar falar de comportamento nas organizações. Ainda é comportamento individual, comportamento humano, mas tem algumas interações curiosas que acontecem dentro das organizações. And we have to talk about those, okay? And later, we're going to go even bigger, even larger perspective. We're going to look at social behavior. And just to give you a hint of this, all right, guys? Now think about this. Suppose, let me see how many people I have here. I have 20 people in this classroom right now, 21. So let me give you an example what I'm talking about. You go to a soccer stadium, and then I, most of the people are rooting for your own team, right? The same team that you are. And it's okay. People chant together. They try to cheer the team up and things like this. All right. Now, it turns out that sometimes the whole crowd gets mad at one person, right? Many times the referee, sometimes a player in the other team, right? Então, às vezes acontece, você está no estádio, está lá a torcida resolve pegar no pé ou do juiz ou de um jogador do time adversário. Okay. Now, what happens? Now, people start screaming bad names, calling this person's mother something. So, if you look at this, it is absurd, right? Just because the guy is from another team, I don't know, maybe he scored a goal or something like that, and you start screaming something about his mother. This is absolutely ridiculous, right? But it turns out that just as one person starts doing that, the whole crowd starts doing the same. So people behave like if they were like a, a herd. As pessoas se comportam como se fossem um bando. Elas não se comportam, elas não têm senso crítico individual mais. Se a torcida toda avança contra o juiz, todo mundo xinga o juiz. Mesmo quem não tem certeza se o juiz roubou ou se não roubou. Ah, mas tá contra a gente. So, this is like an example of social behavior. And each and every person makes a decision, but somehow they make social decisions. All right, so we're going to talk about this later, okay? Individual behavior, organizational behavior, and then the larger perspective, social behavior. Does that make sense? Let me see how many of you are paying attention to what I'm saying. Please raise your hand if it does make sense. All right, Rodolfo, Douglas, obrigado, José Neto, Matheus. Come on, guys, raise your hands. Reach out for the computer or in your cell phones. All right, good. Tá fazendo sentido. Let me check here at the chat. Someone said something. Let's see. A internet tá ruim aqui e o áudio atrasado. Tudo bem. Obrigado, Érica. Caio, would that fit under the concept of mass crowd psychology? Yes, Caio, definitely. Yes, it will. Many of the things that we will discuss here, they are more deeply studied in social psychology. And then mass or crowd psychology is just one phenomenon of interest in that science, okay? All right, then. Good question. So let's move. Okay, so let me show you what behavior economics is not about, ok? Deixa eu começar dizendo para vocês o que economia comportamental não é, ok? Então tem um livro que esse camarada lançou, Robert Cialdini, chama As Armas da Persuasão. Como influenciar e não se deixar influenciar. Now, what this guy is studying is how to manipulate consumers, okay? How to get consumers to say yes. So it is like some things that we see in everyday life, and I'm going to show you some examples of that. Okay. First, reciprocity. In English, we could say, or in Portuguese, we would say reciprocidade. But that, again, what is again reciprocidade? It means if someone gives you something, you feel like you own that person. Se alguém te fizer algum favor, você se sente obrigado com ela, você se sente em débito com aquela pessoa, você sente que deve algum tipo de coisa a ela. All right. This feeling can be manipulated and people can end up signing some things or buying some things that they wouldn't. Okay? So this is the first tactic of persuasion. The second one is scarcity. So if I convince people that something is just about to finish, they feel it is more valuable. Se eu te disser que alguma coisa está quase acabando, você tende a sentir que aquilo vale a mais, que você tem que correr, que é uma oportunidade única. The third one, authority. So we get people that other people respect to come and say some things that we hire them to. Então, se você contrata alguém para falar alguma coisa e essa pessoa é admirada, os outros vão lá e obedecem. Acontece muito isso. The fourth one is consistency or consistence. Well, in this case, it's more like people feel they don't want to change so much, or they want to feel as if they were rational and they are committed to previous choices they made. Então, se alguém vira para você e fala assim, peraí, você não vai levar o litro de leite integral que você sempre compra para sua família? Ah, mas você sempre compra esse produto? Como que agora você vai deixar de fazer? All right, so it turns out that people also use this feeling to try and make you buy more. There is also affect, and that means heart images, like imagens de afeto, de carinho, também são usados para manipular as outras pessoas. And finally, people appeal to conformity. They say, oh, are you going to be the only one that doesn't do such and such? So don't try and be smarter than everybody else. You see, you have to do what people do or something like that. So these 6 tactics, they are used by marketing to try and make consumers purchase such and such products, okay? So when you look like Hollywood stars, they are drinking coffee. People never saw such a coffee shop company in Recife, but they know we are talking about Starbucks. Então, nem existe essa loja de café aqui em Recife. Mas você está vendo aí atores famosos de Hollywood tomando café. Se eu perguntar para muitos de vocês aqui que café que eles estão tomando, a maioria de vocês sabem que eles estão tomando Starbucks. Which, by the way, is the most ridiculously expensive coffee people ever take. Okay? It's absurdly expensive. After all, it's just coffee. And for some reason, people are willing to pay like $12, $15 for a cup of coffee. It's incredible. Acontece, viu, gente? As pessoas vão lá e pagam o equivalente a R$ 50. R$ 50 num copinho desse de café aí. É ridículo, mas enfim. So, their marketing, their propaganda is incredibly effective. Now, look at this. You have now 2 images. On the right-hand side, you have McDonald's, and they tell you that they have sold 247 billion meals. Well, when they tell you this information, they're trying to say, don't try to be smarter than everybody else. If we have sold 247 billion meals, it means it's good. Just go ahead and buy it. Just do like everybody else. So it's a way to convince you that it is a consensus. It's good, everybody likes it, so you should like it too. Então, quando o McDonald's coloca essa plaquinha aí dizendo que 247 bilhões de refeições foram servidas, os caras falam, olha, é bom, todo mundo sabe que isso aqui é bom. Não se engane não, vem aqui e compre. On the left-hand side, you have this guy in a suit and a very beautiful lady. They look like they are dentists, right? And they are saying, this is the number one recommendation by dentists. Então, se você usar a pasta dental deles, é a número 1 em recomendação dos dentistas. And you may ask yourself, said who? Who said that? Is it true? Which dentists? In America? In Brazil? We don't care. We just believe it. Aqui está falando que é a marca mais recomendada pelos dentistas, então deve ser a melhor. All right, so what I'm showing you guys, this is marketing, this is persuasion, this is manipulation. This is not behavioral economics, okay? We are going to try and make a very clear distinction. We are not here to teach you how to make more money by convincing consumers to do such and such. That's not the point here. What we're going to try and do is to understand people's choices, especially regarding very important global issues. O que nós queremos entender é por que as pessoas, mesmo as pessoas sensíveis a questões climáticas, não fazem reciclagem, não economizam água no banho. Por que elas não trocam as lâmpadas que consomem demais na sua casa por lâmpadas mais econômicas? Pô, mas essas pessoas são sensíveis, elas entendem o que está acontecendo. All right. A few more examples. You are in the market, and then someone comes and gently give your kid a taste of something. And then you feel like, well, yeah, we should try it. So you see, you feel like you own that person something. She was so nice. Okay, the name of this is reciprocity, okay? Reciprocidade. Você parece que está fazendo um bem para alguém, a mãe fica lá se sentindo obrigada a comprar o produto porque o filho gostou tanto. Have you seen this? You have seen this all the time, right? When people announce some sort of special offer, they always tell you, hurry, it's gonna be over soon, right? Toda vez que tem uma oferta especial, fala últimas unidades, ou válida até acabar o estoque, válida até o sábado, é a sua chance, or something like that, right? So when they try to create on you this feeling that such offer is scarce, it's rare, it's not going to come back soon. Next week, same thing happens again. So it's obviously some sort of manipulation, okay? You may look at this and say, come on, well, is this what behavior economics has to offer? Is this what we're going to study? We're going to look at the things that other people are looking, and we're going to try, I don't know, manipulate other people just like other sciences do. No, that's not what we're going to do. We're going to go a little bit deeper. We're going to start from a very specific problem, and we're going to try to apply this knowledge to very important issues. Now, before we do that, let's start thinking about what most of the times economists understand when we say rationality, when we say rational choices or rational behavior, okay? Antes da economia comportamental, nessa visão convencional da economia, a gente levava a seguinte concepção: as pessoas que fazem escolhas racionais são aquelas que avaliam criteriosamente a consequência das suas escolhas. So we're talking about consequentialism. The choices are made after full consideration of alternative options and of all consequences. Então, na hora de fazer a escolha, a gente entende claramente quais são todas as opções, entende claramente quais seriam as consequências de cada uma das opções e vai lá, escolhe aquela que é melhor. So, most of the theories assume that individuals have full knowledge of all the options, no matter how many options are involved. So, here comes again that example that I always use. Let's say, let me take a look at your names here. Let's say that Elidio is about to buy a car, ok? Vamos dizer que o Elidio está querendo comprar um carro. E aí eu pergunto para o Elidio assim, Elidio, e aí? Você já sabe qual carro você vai comprar? Ele fala, não, estou olhando, estou começando a olhar. Ok, Elidio, pay attention because at this exact moment, the number of choices you have to buy a car in Recife is 169,000. And then you say, what? Say, yeah, you have to choose one car, but every single day in Recife, you have like 169,000 cars for sale. You have to pick the best one. And Elidio is going to look at me and say, come on, Luis, I don't have time to check all those cars. I'm going to search for one that is good enough, and then I'm going to buy it, right? That's what people do. Not according to the economic theory. According to the economic theory, you only make the choice because you know all the 169,000 options. You have evaluated the consequences of each option, and then you chose the best one. This is what conventional economics assumes. Os modelos de economia convencional assumem que a gente faz escolhas racionais. Escolhas racionais são perfeitamente consequencialistas. Você avalia criteriosamente as consequências de cada opção e depois escolhe aquela que tem a melhor consequência. All right. Imagine we are talking about how people get married, right? So let's say not Elidio, let's say Douglas. Douglas has a girlfriend or a boyfriend, I don't know, and he's fine. They are living together for some time, and they decide to get married. And then some strange friend of him can come and say, hey, Douglas, are you sure this is the rational choice? And then Douglas will say, what? Said, oh, I mean, have you checked all the girls that you could get married in principle? It's, oh, come on. This is not how we make choices about getting married, right? Things don't go like this. So many of our choices, we use other elements to make a decision, right? In many, many cases. Okay, the other thing is that most of the times, we economists, or at least conventional economists, they don't care about what's going on around the choice. They don't care about the environmental aspects. O ambiente da escolha muitas vezes força você a agir de uma certa maneira. So let's suppose you are giving a friend some gift for his or her birthday, okay? Então suponha que você decide dar um presente para um amigo pelo aniversário dele ou dela. Fala assim, I don't have time to choose the gift. I don't have time to go to a shopping center. So I'm just going to give him or her $70. And then if you show up to someone's party and say, here you go, 70 reais, go ahead and buy whatever you want. What will that person feel? They will look at you and say, come on, this is not what a friend would do. You would try and find something that, I don't know, give me pleasure or, I don't know, make me feel happy or something like this. You just don't give me money. What are you, my grandparent or something? So, but it turns out that there is this social status that prevents us from just giving people money. You say, no, it's not what people do. So sometimes the context will somehow affect the way we make choices, right? And in economics or in conventional economics, we hardly ever take that into consideration. Então, na economia comportamental, pelo contrário, sim. Quando a gente olha para uma escolha, a gente fala assim: peraí, mas foi quando? Foi como? Que dia? Era tarde? Era depois do almoço? Era antes do almoço? All right, so the context matters regarding behavior economics, okay? Let's go deeper in this, okay? In our ideal world, there in economics, many things don't show up. For example, standard choices, we call that default. Defaults are very powerful. And I'll give you some examples. Frames, so the way we frame a product. Então, a default é a escolha padronizada. Quando tem assim, você chega para comprar um sanduíche, tem lá o combo. Ah, o combo com batatinha e refrigerante sai por tanto. So this is a default. It's a standard choice. If we present people those, many of us will pick that, okay? Frames is the way we present stuff. Então, frames, para traduzir para português, seria enquadramento. A maneira como você apresenta uma questão afeta a escolha que a pessoa faz. And then we have what they call price anchors, que são ancoragem de preços. Então, depois eu vou dar exemplos disso, tá, gente? Mas assim, se a gente escuta um número aleatoriamente, pouco antes de fazer uma escolha que envolve números, a gente tende a tomar irracionalmente aquele número como parâmetro. Vou dar exemplos disso mais depois, tá? So all of those things, they are inexistent in conventional economics. So it's always like we are perfectly capable of making analysis, cost-benefit analysis, and make choices like they are perfect, or I don't know, we know exactly what we want. But then here come these two guys, Amos Tversky and Daniel Kahneman. These two guys lived in the U.S. for a long time, but they are actually from Israel, if I'm not wrong. So these guys come and say, all right, so let's start presenting some of these anomalies to economists, and let's see what they say. So now think about it. If you have this economic theory to explain, I don't know, how people buy insurance or how people bet when they go to Vegas or something like that. Se você tiver uma teoria assim bem padronizada, bem convencional, sobre como as pessoas compram seguro de vida ou como que elas fazem apostas quando elas entram num cassino, tá? Then here comes these two guys and say, all right, let me show you one example here that people will not make rational choices. Okay, so you show them to the economist, and the economist will say, well, that's an anomaly. Yeah, it happens sometimes. Not as often as you think, but yeah, it could happen. But then these two guys kept collecting many anomalies. And they said, all right, so what about this? And then the economists had to say, yeah, that's another anomaly. Yeah, but maybe that's not as important as you think. And the two guys come again and say, wait, you have this other situation here, and people make choices like this and this and that. And you know what's happening is like, if you have a rule and you have one exception, well, the rule may still be good. But if you have a rule and you have like 65 exceptions, well, maybe you need a better rule, right? If you have a theory and you have like a very large number of situations in which that theory does not apply, then you need another theory. Você tem uma teoria e os caras ficam trazendo situações toda hora de eventos ou de momentos ou de contextos em que aquela teoria não se aplica, ou que ela não prevê corretamente o resultado. Se for uma anomalia, tudo bem. Se for duas, mas se for 300, você precisa de uma nova teoria. Essa teoria sua tá cheio de buracos. All right, so these guys did exactly that. They collected a number of anomalies. They understood profoundly why those anomalies were happening, and then they created a new theory. This one here, which is called the prospect theory. Okay, we're gonna talk. We're gonna have a whole week to discuss as specifically this prospect theory. Okay, but let me tell you one thing right away. These two guys had a huge success. Not only they are not economists, they are both psychologists. They published a paper in one of the most prestigious journals in economics. Então, eles publicaram um artigo deles, eles não são economistas, são dois psicólogos. Mesmo assim, eles publicaram o artigo deles, contendo essa nova teoria, numa das revistas mais famosas, prestigiosas que tem da economia. And by the way, they got a Nobel Prize in Economics for that prospect theory. Claro, eles ganharam um prêmio Nobel de Economia por aquela teoria do prospecto, ou teoria da perspectiva, se alguém preferir. But the story is like not only two guys, right? So we're talking here about these two fellows, Kahneman and Tversky. Unfortunately, this guy here has passed away a few years ago. This one is alive, but this one unfortunately not. This other guy here is like the beginner, the one who started it all. And it's a fascinating person. The name of this guy here is Herbert Simon. He wrote his contributions by the end of the 40s, all right? So right after the Second World War, the guy was publishing some of his first works. He actually was the person who created the term bounded rationality. Esse cara aqui, esse Simon, foi o cara que criou a expressão racionalidade limitada para descrever a maneira como a gente de fato faz decisões, tá? Now, I have also to say about this guy here is that he was one of the most intelligent people of his time. He was not only extremely knowledgeable in many different sciences, he was also kind of a self-taught scientist. Então é um cara que não apenas tinha conhecimento profundo de matemática, sociologia, história, economia, psicologia, como uma boa parte do conhecimento dele tinha sido auto-ensinado, era um autodidata. So, actually one of the most intelligent people of our time, or at least our last century, okay? Now, here are some of more recent guys. This guy here, his name is Dan Ariely, or Dan Ariely. So he's a famous guy now, and some people say that he will get a Nobel Prize sometimes. Colin Cameron, and the guy here is George Akerlof. All of these people, they are economics professors. Most of them work in the US, and they have brought up many contributions to behavior economics. We are going to be talking about them as we move along the semester, okay? In any case, if you want, you can read some of his books, and some of his books have become huge bestsellers. They have sold millions of copies all over the world, okay? So you have this Nudge, o empurrãozinho para a escolha certa, Rápido e Devagar, a economia da identidade. All of those use behavior economics and explain behavior economics to everybody, right? So those are not technical books. They are more like scientific, uh, how to say that? Popularização da ciência. I don't know how to say that in English, but here we go. All right. So let's have a look at some of these things that we're talking about here because we don't want to go too abstract, okay? So let's go to a simple example. I'm going to ask you a couple of questions. So please try and answer those questions the way more honest possible, okay? So the first one is like this. Suppose that I give you $250 and I say, okay, oh, you have a choice. I can give you 250 reais right now, or if you prefer, I can give you a lottery ticket, but it's a very special lottery. You have 25% chance to win 1,000 and 75% chance to win nothing. So those are two options here, okay? I'm only looking at this question. O que você prefere, gente? Que eu te dê R$ 250 agora, na sua mão, ou que eu te dê um ingresso para um sorteio, para uma rifa, sei lá. E nesse ingresso, você tem uma chance em 4. 25% de chance de ganhar $1.000. Mas você tem 3 quartos, né? 75% de chance de ganhar nada. If I offer you this, would you pick letter A or letter B? So Lucas is already answered here. A. João Romeo, A. Aline is like risk lover. Yeah, he likes to live dangerously. Aline escolheu B. Ela que tá querendo é 1.000. Tá querendo correr risco mesmo. All right, guys. And it turns out that 99% of the people will go with certainty. In this case, you say, come on, for sure, 250 reais in my pocket right now, well, that's good enough for me. I don't want to take chances. It's good. Just give me the money. I'm going to go home, right? Most of us will answer just like that. But wait, now I'm going to ask you a different thing. Okay. The second question goes like this. Now, you are driving your car and the police officer stopped you and he said, all right, so you have a problem in your car. You are not driving safely, or maybe you are driving too fast or something like this. So now we are looking at this. Now you have to pay a ticket now, and the ticket is 750 reais. But you know what? I'm a different police officer. I like statistics, I like probabilities, and I'm going to give you a chance, okay? So what do you prefer? You pay 750 reais as a ticket, and we don't talk about that anymore. Or you can take a bet with me. We are going to throw a dice or something like this, and it's going to be like a 75% chance that you have to pay more, 1,000 reais. But I'll give you 25% chance to lose nothing. Tá, então nesse caso, ó, o guarda te parou, você já tem uma multa de 750 reais. Mas ele é um guarda meio doido, ele fala assim, ó, vamos fazer o seguinte, eu tenho aqui um sorteio e você tem 75% de chance de pagar 1.000, em vez de pagar 750. Mas, nesse sorteio, você tem 25% de chance de não pagar nada. Se você tiver sortudo hoje, ou sortuda, e aí se acaba que não paga nem os 750 reais, não paga nada. So, in this second case, would you pick A or B? Let me see your answer here in the chat. Now, Aline goes with B, Lucas will take the 750. Most of the people are willing to take the bet now. Por que que quando era um ganho, a maioria das pessoas queria a garantia, o certo, não queriam correr chances? E por que quando é uma perda, a pessoa fala assim, já perdi 750 mesmo? Perder 750, perder 1.000, vai ser horrível, mas enfim, pelo menos eu tenho uma chance de não perder nada. Have you guys heard the sentence, perdido por 10, perdido por 1.000? And sometimes you see a soccer team and the adversary scores a goal, and then people say, all right, you're going to have only attackers in the team. You take all the defenders and put all the team up and say, oh, we are losing already, so we don't care if you're going to have like 20 goals scored against us, right? Acontece, gente, que quando a gente está falando de perdas, a maioria de nós está disposto a correr risco. Quando a gente está falando de ganhos, a maioria de nós adora a segurança. So this is one more example that will not fit in conventional economics. Conventional economics cannot explain that. How people change if they are risk lovers or risk haters. They changed if we are talking about a gain or a loss. And that's not reasonable for conventional economics. Dentro da teoria convencional da economia, se você queria jogar no seguro na primeira opção, você também deveria querer jogar no seguro na segunda opção. Se você quis correr risco na primeira opção, você também ia querer correr risco na segunda. Now, the same kind of questions have been repeated with hundreds of thousands of people all over the world in classes like this, but not only with college students, with all sorts of people, mathematicians, psychologists, business owners, teachers, whoever. A Aline está falando aqui que ela atende à teoria convencional. Maybe you're too wild for the conventional theory. Talvez você seja muito ousada, muito audaciosa para a teoria convencional. Yeah, but it turns out that this thing has been shown to happen all over. And then we need a better theory. You may look at me at this point, guys, and say, oh, come on, Luis, is this really serious? Is this really important? A primeira reação que a gente tem quando a gente vê um exemplo desse, fala assim, pô, mas peraí, eu vou aprender isso. Desculpa, só um minutinho. Vou beber uma água aqui. All right, I'm back. So many people look at those examples and say, come on, Luis, are we going to spend a semester learning about these crazy situations? And I keep telling you guys, this is just an illustration. But people behave like this when they are buying insurance for their cars. People behave like this when they are choosing which kind of financial investment they are making. People behave like this when they choose to go to college. People behave like this when they choose which profession they want to pursue. You see? So this is important stuff. A gente não está falando de circunstâncias assim de, se tiver um bilhete de loteria, eu vou querer assim, eu vou querer assado. Essas mesmas coisas acontecem quando as pessoas estão escolhendo qual a profissão que vão seguir. Many people pick their profession, their jobs, not concerned.
Your microphone is closed.
Sorry, I just touched here and closed it. Thank you. Many people pick their professions without concerning how much they like. They just think, well, my parents do that. I'm going to have a job immediately after graduation. So, yeah, sounds good. A pessoa fala, meu pai é dono de clínica médica, minha mãe é médica. Eu vou fazer o quê? Vou ser médico. Pô. Vai ser, na hora que eu terminar a universidade, eu já estou empregado, vou herdar o negócio da família. É isso. When they do that, it's more about probability and gain or loss than it is about what they want to do with their lives. You see? So this is important stuff. It is not only about some, I don't know, crazy situations in which people could behave strangely or something like this. All right? We're going to try and show to you many aspects of life in which those things show up. Okay? All right. So let me move on to see some more examples here. I want to show you something else. Just a minute, please. Oh, there you go. Here. All right. So again, we talked a little bit about this guy. Let me say a few more things. So Herbert Simon, this fella here, there from the 40s, the previous century. So he created this term, bounded rationality, racionalidade limitada. The main message of his studies was to say, come on, guys, you have to understand people's minds concerning, relating to the environment in which those minds were developed. A gente tem que entender o cérebro humano no contexto em que ele foi desenvolvido. A gente viveu 300 mil anos lá na savana africana. O nosso cérebro, mais ou menos, se encaixa para aquilo ali. Só que agora a gente não vive mais na savana africana. Agora a gente não acorda de manhã sem saber o que vai comer, pelo menos a maioria de nós. All right, so the way we make decisions still appeals to those conditions, it still relates to those conditions, okay? It turns out that in modern life, decisions are not always, well, actually, they are quite often not optimal. Grande parte das nossas escolhas não são ótimas, tá? We have trouble trying to process information. We have limited in knowledge when we make. We're not as smart and such a good memory as we think we have, okay? We have computational capacities. Our cognition is limited. And when I say that, I say still with a deep respect for the human brain, okay? It is the most fascinating machine we know of, okay? Still, it has some limitations. And we just have to be honest about it to realize it, okay? Okay, so Tversky and Kahnemans, these guys were kind of followers of Simon. They said, well, Simon was right, and we're going to start collecting heuristics and biases. Now, let me translate this to Portuguese just to make sure everyone understands. Heurísticas, também não sei o que é. Heurísticas, regrinhas de bolso. Tá? A gente toma decisão com uma espécie de soluções aproximadas, soluções simples para problemas complexos. And biases, em português, it is vieses. Vieses são tendências cognitivas, tendências, muitas vezes, a errar, que são previsíveis. Qualquer pessoa tende a fazer aquele mesmo tipo de erro. So these guys, we have to respect what they do, what they did, because they were very careful in conducting experiments. And they were actually ethical in doing so. Então, a maneira como você conduz experimentos com seres humanos precisa ser muito cuidadosa para você não expor ninguém a nenhum tipo de humilhação, constrangimento, sofrimento, mas também é muito difícil de restringir as situações para que as pessoas ajam de uma maneira realista. So, in developing experiments, these two guys were very, very smart, okay? And they ended up documenting lots of situations where people make choices differently than was expected. Okay? Então, realmente é uma contribuição extraordinária da ciência o que esses caras deram, tá? We're going to talk a lot about this later on, but think about two problems, okay? Two very problems of these days. Global warming. This is not a huge problem anymore, but it's still some kind of problem. Smoking. Okay, so here we have like a more society problem. Here's more like a personal problem. People make bad choices, poor choices regarding those issues. And part of the reason for that is that they have not received enough feedback. Então pensa bem, as pessoas dificilmente se movem para combater o aquecimento global, e uma das razões é que os impactos do aquecimento global só vão ser sentidos mesmo daqui a 20, 30, 50 anos. A gente está só começando a sentir os impactos. Então ninguém consegue ter aquele senso de pressa, porque ainda falta muito tempo lá na frente. A mesma coisa acontece com quem fuma, os fumantes. As pessoas fumam, elas sabem que tem uma grande chance de elas terem enfisema pulmonar, câncer de pulmão, câncer de garganta, de laringe e tudo mais. Eles falam, mas isso aí vai ser lá para quando eu tiver 70 anos e tal. Demora muito, eu paro antes disso. So, when you have delayed, which means late, or even non-existent feedback, se a resposta, o retorno, a informação na pele só chega com muito tempo depois, ou nem chega, as pessoas continuam fazendo a coisa errada. All right, so the point is, one fundamental assumption of social sciences was challenged. What is the fundamental assumption? The men and women, they are rational. This idea of Homo economicus, well, the idea has been challenged. Maybe there is no Homo economicus. Maybe this ideally rational and selfish individual with relatively stable preferences, well, this is not a good description at all of how people actually do stuff, okay? So it turns out that when you start studying behavior economics, you understand that our decisions, they are non-linear. Sometimes they are not as controlled as we think they are, and sometimes they are not even deliberative. We just make choices like sometimes by accident, and we tend to believe that they are rational. Muitas vezes a gente faz escolhas que são mero acaso, mas a gente acaba se convencendo de que aquela escolha foi racional, de que estava tudo certo, de que a gente realmente queria aquilo, tá? All right. I'm gonna stop talking in just a few minutes, but let me just give you a hint of what is coming, okay? The next time you guys hear me, it's gonna be like a recorded session. I will record the session for you for Friday. But then we are gonna be talking about the way Kahneman decided to describe the human brain. Now, please pay attention to this, okay? What we have here is a model, which means it is not true. It is a theory, okay? It's a simplification of reality. But the model goes like this. suppose that our brain is actually composed of two systems. It's like we have two modes in our brain. One of them is very fast, is intuitive, it's almost automatic, and it serves us for many, many things. Like if someone throw the keys at you, you just grab them. You don't know how you do that, but you just grab the keys, right? So it's like intuitive, fast, automatically, almost, okay? And there is this second system of how our brain works, okay? And it goes like this: we stop, we take a piece of paper, a pencil, and we write down, we think about that, we compare options, and then we make a decision, okay? After thorough analysis and deliberation and considerations, then we make decisions. So what Kahneman proposes is this. Let's say that our brain has these two systems, and sometimes we use system one, sometimes we use system two. Now, think about it. Our brain is much more complex than that. So it is just a simplification, okay? But look at this. Just look at the image we have there. Now, in this case, someone is trying to sell you a refrigerator. And what they do is to emphasize that you only will have to pay 129 reais a month. Okay? So that's what the emphasis is. They are not showing you that by paying 8 times 129 reais, you are paying way more than 750. That's not what you pay attention. You just look at this. So, in this advertisement, they are trying to convince you to buy. So they want system one to make a quick decision. All right, this is an easy one. Just take the refrigerator. It's 129 a month. It's good. You can pay that. So they appeal to your system one. Now look at this thing here. How complicated it is to explain how much energy the refrigerator will spend. So it turns out that this foundation here, Procel, together with InMetro, they said, we are not going to explain complex stuff to people. We're just going to help them. We're going to help people understand in very fast way that this is an economical product. So still, it is system one. But in this case, what we're trying to do is to help people make better choice. Here, you're trying to make a sale. In both cases, you're trying to stimulate system one. But in the first case, in a manipulative way. In the second case, in a responsible way. All right? All right, so I'm going to stop here because I know it's already 9:50. I'm going to stop this presentation. Ask you guys if you have questions. Let me see. There's a question here at the chat. In the field of health economics, this is often referred to as low-hanging fruits problems. Some very simple and relatively cheap interventions are simply not taken up by the population because the costs are borne now and the perceived gains are in the somewhat distant future or hardly noticeable. All right, yeah. What you're trying to say there, Caio, is like the low-hanging fruit problem. It is a general description of certain decisions which are deeply affected by those cognitive biases. And it's not only one, okay? So my point is this. When you describe the thing as just being low-hanging fruits problem, you don't realize that there are 3 or 4 different cognitive biases at work. Vamos explicando em português. Essa história de descrever todo o problema como sendo apenas o problema do fruto mais fácil de pegar, o fruto da árvore mais fácil de pegar, esse acaba sendo uma explicação genérica. E o que a gente vai tentar ver é que, num problema como esse, a gente tem 3 ou 4 diferentes vieses cognitivos operando simultaneamente. Então, a gente vai dar uma explicação um pouco mais detalhada para a razão por que as pessoas fazem essas questões. All right. Any other questions, comments, suggestions? I know it's late. Everybody's tired. So I'm going to stop recording here. And I'm going to be here for a few more minutes if you want to talk to me. Otherwise, enjoy your evening.